September 17th. And Adam, that means less than 2 weeks remain in the regular season.
Yeah, finally winding down, but still some good slates between now and then.
Oh, have you researched them? Have you been looking forward? What's going on, Alex?
Not much, man. Excited for another Free Money Tuesday. Hopefully all those dudes who rostered Luke Falk last night in Showdown, they're ready to roll it back with some MLB. And I'm looking forward to this competition because they got some good prize pools tonight.
Do you remember how you did last Tuesday?
No, actually. I mean, I guess if I'm advertising Free Money Tuesday, it could be a good point of evidence to say how I did last Tuesday. To be honest, I didn't really pay that much attention. It's just another day for me.
You're like, oh, I didn't play.
Well, dude, I mean, I play like every day. So.
I know. I'm well aware.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, the Deeper Dive and many of the shows we do are sponsored by Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports. If you're still playing baseball, they've got plenty of MLB contests. But the big ones right now, NFL, $500K baller, $100,000, 25 to enter, $100K guaranteed, $10K to first. The baller's got an awesome payout structure, $50K to first, 30, 20, 10. Makes it so you don't go from 50 to 5 from first to second. And some huge free rolls, even a big $1 contest with 4K to first. A lot of stuff happening on Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports every week in the NFL. And you can get up to $30 in Yahoo Sports Rewards points, those YSRPs, simply by signing up through us at awesemo.com. Just go to awesemo.com, click on the MLB tab. You will see the Spotlight Hitters article right at the top. It's free. And the link at the top of that article. Click that link, sign up, get your $30 in Yahoo Sports Rewards points upon depositing. And they're as good as cash. You can use them to play, win, and withdraw money on the site as you please. So if you've yet to do it, if you're new to the show, if you're new to Awesemo, and you haven't checked out Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports yet, here's your way to do it and put some quick money in your bankroll to get yourself started off on the right foot. All right, let's jump into it. Adam, Toronto, Baltimore, Trent Thornton. On the opposite side, Shepard. Now, here, let me ask you something about Shepard here, because I know nothing about this man. Just being completely 100% transparent with you. I don't know a damn thing about Chandler Shepard outside of the fact that he's starting today against the Toronto Blue Jays and everything I've looked up on Fangraphs. Can you tell me more? You wrote the deep dive today. I'm sure you'd put some work in on it.
Yeah, Chandler Shepard was not an emphasis in the deep dive today.
He wasn't featured is what you're saying.
Yeah, but no, I mean, nothing impressive to see here. He's 27 years old. This is the first season he's pitched in the major leagues. He's made 2 relief appearances for Baltimore so far. Came over from the Red Sox organization. This year in 8 appearances with the Red Sox, 7 starts. He struck out 18.4%. With Baltimore, with the Orioles AAA team, he struck out 23.3%. Doesn't project to be any good, and that's about all that I know.
Yeah. Another thing too is when you look at the amount of innings pitched compared to the amount of games played or amount of starts. I mean, even if you just take his starts and you take the 29 and 2/3 innings and seven starts, he's averaging less than 4 1/3 innings pitched per game.
Yeah, he started to go deeper into games basically in like the month of August. But prior to that, he really wasn't getting deep in the games for most of the season. In 5 starts in August, he went 6 1/3, 6, 6, 7, and 8 innings. So that's, I guess, good to see.
Are you interested in the other side, in Trent Thornton?
I wasn't until I saw Baltimore's lineup, and then now I'm mildly interested. You don't have Santander. You don't have. There's someone missing. There's someone else missing. It's a watered down lineup. You have Mason Williams in there. You have Chris Davis, so tons of strikeouts there. Chance Sisco strikes out a lot as well. It looks like Thornton's coming in as a follower though behind Ryan Tepera, so that does take some value away.
Oh, really? Okay.
I hadn't seen that till just now when I refreshed. But.
Yeah, I had him actually in as the starter. What do you have here, Alex, on Thornton?
Yeah, Thornton is the bulk reliever today, from what I read. I actually found this good follow today. Let's see. Who is bulking today? And the Twitter is who is bulking. It has this like power or protein powder like icon. And this guy has made it his mission to just track who's the bulk reliever every day. So I thought that was kind of amusing.
Do you have any interest in this bulk reliever, Trent Thornton?
Nah, I mean, Baltimore is kind of an appealing matchup, but Thornton's not a good pitcher. The lineup for Baltimore is actually not as bad as we're accustomed to. They only strike out at an average rate. They have about 5 to 10% less power than average, so it's not really enough to make me interested in a bad pitcher.
How are you feeling about the hitters here on either side of this one at Camden Yards?
I like them a good amount. The value is there in certain spots. On Yahoo, the Orioles are absurdly cheap. For like half the team is $7, and they have a team total of 5, so they're wildly underpriced. On FanDuel, Toronto is super cheap, and you have guys like Lourdes Gurriel getting high ownership, 2,500 batting third. Excellent cash game play in tournaments. This isn't a great team either, so I wouldn't get too excited, but the value is certainly great. The ownership for the Blue Jays on DraftKings looks kind of reasonable because the best players are priced up. So I think you could take a shot on them there too.
Okay, Adam, are you doing anything with bats in this first game?
Nothing that I really love. I do agree that there's some good values, though. Rio Ruiz hitting cleanup at 3,500 on DraftKings stands out. From the other side, I think Toronto is appealing, especially a $3,900 Vlad Guerrero. Randall Grichuk is affordable as well. So probably more one-offs and mini stacks for me than anything.
Okay. Anyone specific outside of Ruiz that you like?
Guerrero and Grichuk.
Okay, that's it?
Yeah.
All right, let me stay with you with Pittsburgh and Seattle. Your boy Mitch Keller, Marco Gonzalez. We're off to a great start with pitching today. To be fair, Seattle has been a pretty below average team over the past several months. They got off to a hot start this season and took a precipitous decline shortly thereafter. Shed Long leading off, followed by Crawford, Seager, Kyle Lewis, Omar Narvaez, Austin Nola, D. Gordon, Malik Smith, and Marco Gonzalez. So you've got the pitcher in here in this NL Park. What are your thoughts on Mitch Keller today?
Hey, I'm really interested in Keller. His DraftKings price tag isn't super appealing at 8,100. I think that it's fine, but it doesn't really jump out. But on Yahoo and on FanDuel, he's really cheap. He's 5,800 on FanDuel. He's $28 on Yahoo. He's got a favorable strikeout matchup against Seattle. The Mariners also lose their designated hitter, so no Dan Vogelbach in the lineup. Takes out one of their better hitters. Keller had a 28.2% strikeout percentage at AAA this year through 9 starts in the majors. He also has a 28.2% strikeout percentage. His ERA is over 8, but he has a 3.55 xFIP. He has good stuff. I think that he's just gotten unlucky so far in the majors in terms of run prevention. So on FanDuel and Yahoo, he really stands out as a good play to me.
Okay, yeah, I think he's a really interesting option today, and that Seattle lineup is far from concerning. What are your thoughts on Mitch Keller, Alex? And of course, a pretty good park too.
Yeah, I think he stands out a lot on FanDuel and Yahoo as well. This is a guy with good strikeout numbers, 28% on the year. And it's a good strikeout matchup versus Seattle. And to boot, Pittsburgh is getting cooler. It's going to be in the mid-70s. The humidity is low. So I think the spot is pretty good for him.
Okay. Do you have any interest on the other side, Gonzalez, or in the batters, Alex?
Yeah, I think I'm more interested in the Pittsburgh side. They're very cheap on all 3 sides. So they stand out as good value. Some really good options. Melky Cabrera batting third. Elias Diaz batting fifth. And Melky on FanDuel is 2,100. Yahoo is $7. So he really stands out as someone who is way too cheap, and he could be a cash play. I'm not thrilled about it because he's not that good a player, but the price is absurd.
What about you, Adam? Bats here outside of Mitch Keller. What do you like, if anything?
Not much. I mean, Gonzalez doesn't strike guys out, so I'm not interested in him, but it's not a great Pittsburgh lineup either. I think you could make arguments for Kevin Newman or for Ozuna or Diaz, Ozuna and Diaz in the middle of the order at cheap price tags. But in the context of a 14-game slate where we do have a lot of really good hitting options, I don't think the Pirates are a priority for me.
Okay. Let's move it forward then on to the next one, Boston and San Francisco. Alex, Nathan Eovaldi, Logan Webb. Again, not exactly the most inspiring pitching options. I guess we can start with Eovaldi here against a bad San Francisco offense. What do you have?
I think the Eovaldi isn't really cheap enough for me to be interested. It is a decent matchup versus San Francisco, but their lineup is actually getting to be pretty decent. They're playing in the AL, so they got the designated hitter spot instead of a pitcher. And I have them grading out as about an average team in all respects. So I'm not just going off that Giants name. I think they're not the greatest matchup today. And he's not really standing out for me for that reason.
Okay. Adam?
Yeah, same boat. I actually, when I did the podcast last night, I thought that I was going to be more interested in Eovaldi than I am. But it's really not a terrible Giants lineup. Yastrzemski, Belt at the top are both good. Longoria is much better outside of San Francisco, as you would expect. Vogt, Kevin Pillar, Crawford, they're all fine. It's not like it's a scary matchup, but he's not really cheap either. So I just think that I would rather, even on DraftKings, I would rather find $900 for Mitch Keller if I'm in that price range than go to Eovaldi.
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense to me. Now, do you have any interest in Boston bats here against Webb in a good, friendly hitter's park?
Yeah, I do. I think that you might see them go a little bit under-owned. Right now on the top stack tool, we have them projected for about half the ownership that they should have. And it makes sense because you have the Coors game, you have Minnesota, who is now really cheap against a really bad pitcher because they're priced for Giolito. So I think that you'll have a lot of ownership going to those teams, and maybe the Red Sox go a little bit overlooked. Logan Webb, I don't think is terrible, but he's not a great pitcher either. And it is a huge park downgrade for him going to Fenway. Outside of Mookie Betts not being in the lineup, it's still a pretty good Boston lineup. You still have Bogarts, Devers, JD hitting 2 through 4. So I do think that they're an appealing stack.
Okay. Yeah. How much interest do you have in Boston and how much exposure do you expect to have, Alex?
Based on the ownership that we have up now, I mean, I'm really interested. I think that they're way too low owned. I can understand why, I'm saying there's a lot of teams with higher run totals tonight, but that doesn't mean Boston can't have an outlier performance and put up 10 plus runs. So I think that they're a great play across the industry today.
Okay.
One guy I'll point out is Benintendi's leading off for bets. He's just way underpriced on every site. Probably a cash game play on each site.
Eovaldi's been, nothing short of bad this season. The Giants are too, but I mean, just a massively favorable park shift here. Do you see yourself getting potentially to, any cheaper Giants bats here, or are they all priced up enough to stay away from him?
It's kind of in this dead zone where they're not sending out as values. One guy that I will point out is Stephen Vogt at $7 on Yahoo. That could easily be a cash game catch-up for you. But on DraftKings and FanDuel, they're not a great value. They don't have great potential tonight. So there's probably going to be a situation I might sprinkle in, but not a lot of exposure.
Adam, any Giants interest?
Yeah, another negative there is that you would you prefer lefties against Eovaldi. That's where he's really struggled. And you do have lefties here with Yastrzemski and with Belt and with Vogt, but Fenway's not favorable for left-handed power like it is for right-handed power. So just not the best spot for them. And, outside of Vogt on Yahoo, like Alex said, they're not really cheap either.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a pretty reasonable point. Adam, staying with you in Cleveland, Adam Plutko, Zach Reiniger. It's this time of season where this job becomes a whole lot more difficult. Pronunciations alone.
He's like the fourth different pitcher I've seen projected for the Tigers today too.
Yeah, I think he's I thought he was confirmed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing it confirmed, but it's
Okay, yeah,
still the fourth name I've seen today.
Right, just want to make sure here. Is Plutko, despite not being a great pitcher? I mean, the problem is on some sites he's priced up for this matchup, but once again, a bad Tigers lineup rolled out here in Cleveland. What are your thoughts on Adam Plutko?
I think that anyone facing the Tigers is in play, but I don't really love Plutko here at his salary. The issue that I have is just that, like on DraftKings, he is priced up for the matchup at $7,700. It only puts him $400 less than Mitch Keller, who I think is just a better talent. And then on Fanduel and Yahoo, you have a free Mitch Keller. So, he's on Fanduel, he's $2,000 less expensive than Plutko is. And on Yahoo, he's $5 less expensive than Plutko. So it's just really tough for me when you compare him to Mitch Keller. I know the matchup against Detroit's good, but he's just not a high strikeout pitcher.
Okay. Any interest in Plutko for you, Alex?
No, not like about zero interest. I mean, the matchup's really the only thing that's good. And Detroit's lineup today is lacking power, so it should be a good situation for run prevention. But they don't strike out at above an average rate. Plutko's strikeout percentage of 16% for the season is not going to get it done. And we even project Plutko to be pretty high on, so I'm going to be staying away from him.
Okay, fair enough. What about Cleveland bats, Alex?
It's kind of a tough spot to analyze because they are looking to be super popular, really standing out as great values. And Franmil Reyes is with scratch, so that means that few guys even got a bump in the order. So there's some really, really great values across the industry here. Yasiel Puig stands out as probably the best value. He's only $3,900 on DraftKings, $3,200 on FanDuel, and $12 on Yahoo. But pretty much the whole team is underpriced. So I think they're going to be a great play to fit in an optimizer. And I'm hoping that enough ownership will get siphoned off to Coors and some other spots that Cleveland will be a little bit under-owned.
Okay. Adam, what about Cleveland for you? Is this a team where you see yourself getting a lot of?
Yeah, just really, really favorable pricing. Like Alex said, one of two teams on this slate that is priced to face an ace pitcher and is facing a not ace pitcher. So you just get them at really, really cheap pricing. I wish that Franmil Reyes were in the lineup. The bottom of this Cleveland lineup gets pretty bad pretty quickly. But, you do still have Lindor, Mercado, Santana, Puig, Bowers, 1 through 5 that are all affordable. Lindor on DraftKings is the most expensive hitter on the Indians at only $4,800. So just really favorable pricing here.
Okay. Anything else from this one? I think basically just Cleveland bats and a no on Adam Plutko, right?
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Alex?
Cleveland bats are going to be one of the top plays tonight. Also one of the highest owned, I think. Okay.
Yeah, I think that would probably make sense here. Taking a look at ownership and stacks. Right now, Cleveland has an implied run total well over 6. And as far as their ownership goes, right now they are top 5, 5th right now. Nothing crazy, it seems. But, yeah, a few teams above them. And, of course, we are once again in a Coors Field slate. So that will skew a whole lot. Let's talk about the Phillies and the Braves, Alex. Dallas Keuchel, Vince Velasquez. Keuchel actually, his last start came against the Phillies. He was pretty stellar. 6 one-run innings, 8 strikeouts, and the win. Vince Velasquez, on the other hand, has either been, good enough or terrible, but never great. And I think that's pretty much what we've seen from him all season long. His strikeouts have been, okay at best. He doesn't pitch deep into games, and now he has to face the Atlanta Braves. So, forgive me if I'm not enthusiastic about rostering him. Is there anything here that stands out to you on the pitching front?
Yeah, I think Velasquez is a pretty decent play.
All right, well, there you go.
I'll go to bat for him.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, he's 25% Ks across the year, so that's the number we like. His xFIP is 4.9, so really he's been better at striking guys out than actually winning games. But I'm not too worried about that. I can get lucky and win maybe he'll give up fewer runs than expected. And the matchup is pretty is below average for strikeouts when you consider the first 8 Braves bats. But then you get down to Dallas Keuchel, and he struck out at a 70% clip over the past 2 seasons. So I'm thinking that Keuchel will last long enough in the game to get 2 plate appearances, and that's kind of that extra boost I need to want to get Velasquez, is maybe having a strikeout in the 9-hole above average.
Okay. What about you, Adam?
I think that it's DraftKings specific for me because, again, the pricing on DraftKings on their pitching is just so different than on FanDuel or Yahoo. So getting Velasquez at 6,100 there, where you don't have really any sort of good strikeout option down there. Like, the other options that I would consider are guys that don't get strikeouts, and I don't really want to roster, but they're in good spots. Velasquez, does have good strikeout stuff. It's a really scary matchup, I think, because he does struggle with power to both sides of the plate. And Atlanta does have a lot of hitters that have power that don't strike out a lot. So it wouldn't be surprising at all to see multiple home runs from the top of this order. But like Alex said, run prevention from game to game is just something that isn't very stable, and it varies a lot. So you can just kind of hope to get lucky there, and strikeouts are going to be more predictable from game to game. So since he does have the best strikeout stuff out of anyone priced around him, I think he's at least someone to consider in tournaments.
Okay. What about hitters here? Unless you have anything else on pitching, Adam.
Yeah, no, I'm interested in the Braves hitters because, like I said, I think it's a really good home run spot for them. They do have an implied run total up around 6, and he gives up power. And you have guys like Freddie Freeman that doesn't strike out a lot, has a lot of power. Donaldson has power. So do Acuna and Albies. Markakis puts the ball in play, and he doesn't have power like the top 4, but still a pretty decent hitter. So I think that both sides here are appealing, and on non-DraftKings sites, I prefer the Braves over anything.
Okay. Do you like the Braves, Alex? I know you have some interest in Velasquez, but do you see both sides of this being in play?
Yeah, this is going to be a situation where I'm straddling the line a little bit because I do like the Braves. Anytime a team has a team total of 6 or higher, you got to love their potential to just have an explosive performance. So in lineups where I don't have Velasquez, I can certainly have some Braves. On FanDuel, they're very well priced, which is a blessing and a curse because they will also be pretty popular compared to the other sites. On Yahoo, Ronald Acuna is underpriced at $16 for the kind of player he is, so he's a cash play. On DraftKings, the Braves are priced up quite a bit, so they're not going to really stand out as the top option, which makes me intrigued a little bit more.
Any Philly bats for either of you guys?
Real Muto, I think, is a viable catcher option, but overall, Keuchel's just not a guy that I'm really looking to take bats against.
Okay. Adam, what about Minnesota and the White Sox? Ross Detweiler, Martin Perez. I think it's not much of a surprise that Minnesota has an implied run total above 6.5 on this slate. So expected to score quite a bit of runs. 4.8 for the White Sox against Perez. But short answer, any interest in pitching? Do you have any interest in Perez?
Perez on DraftKings, yeah. Just because, again, you don't have Mitch Keller down in that price range. You do have strikeouts in the White Sox lineup. Since last season against left-handed pitching, Jimenez, obviously just this season, but Jimenez 29.9%, James McCann's at 27.8%, 31% strikeout percentage for Moncada, 22.9% for Sanchez, Adam Engels at 26%, and you get Zach Collins in the lineup instead of Wellington Castillo. So Martin Perez isn't a good strikeout pitcher. He's struck out about 18.8% of hitters this season, but he has done a good job as far as expected power goes. He's held righties to a 139 expected ISO, lefties to 0.087. So at his price point, I think that the White Sox lineup just gives enough strikeout upside that he's a pretty decent option.
Okay. What about bats against Detweiler? Very high total for the Twins today.
Yeah, I love the Twins here. I mean, they're naturally underpriced because up until last night, it was going to be Lucas Giolito pitching. But now you have Detweiler, who this season has allowed a 279 ISO to righties, 237 to lefties, and you just have really affordable pricing. I mean, Nelson Cruz at 4,700 on DraftKings is about $1,000 less than he would be if Detweiler had been supposed to pitch today. Same goes for basically the entire team, with the exception of Mitch Garver, who is still really expensive leading off. But I also think he's the highest projected catcher today. So really like Minnesota.
Okay. What about you, Alex? First Martin Perez and then Minnesota hitters.
Yeah, I think that Perez is probably my DraftKings favorite pitcher of the night. I mean, there's a lot of things not to like. The White Sox have a team total of 5.1. I mean, that's the main reason that Perez having that 18.8% strikeout rate is pretty underwhelming. But the White Sox lineup strikes out at a higher clip than average with their particular guys they're rolling out today. I have them projected to strike out about 10% more than your average team. And Perez is only 5,900. He's relatively well priced compared to the other pitchers by my model. And I think there's a big advantage to going for a cheap pitcher because that allows you to skip some of the obvious value options like Cleveland and spend up for a team like Boston, who has far less ownership.
Okay. What about the White Sox against Perez?
I think that they're good. If Perez was more popular than we have them projected, I'd be more interested. But they are priced up considerably, which makes sense that because they price Perez down a lot. On Fanduel and Yahoo, they stand out as being kind of bad values, but they are going to be super low owned. So I could see taking some shots if you're a big White Sox fan. Probably not going to be a way I try to make a lot of money tonight. So Minnesota, though, the bats are going to be in very high demand today.
Okay. Well, then, Alex, let's move on to the next game here and talk about the Brewers and the Padres. Brandon Woodruff, excuse me, as your probable opener here, activated off the disabled list. He's been down for almost 2 months. And Chris Paddock now against the Brewers. Right now for Milwaukee, we've got Gio Gonzalez as your long man or your bulk reliever. Do you have any interest in pitching today?
I'm a little bit interested in Gonzalez. The spot is decent. The fact that he's coming in relief could be a good thing, maybe, because he's not a guy that really pitches enough to get a win if he's starting. And the matchup is pretty good versus San Diego. The lineup they're rolling out today is favorable for strikeouts. And the run prevention should be good. San Diego only has a team total of 4.3. So Gonzalez is going to be a sleeper for me today.
What about you, Adam?
If I got to anything in this game, I think it would be Gio, but he's still just not really as cheap as I would like him to be. 7,400 on DraftKings, which is the only site where I think he would be necessary. So I still don't think I'll get to Gio, but he's the most interesting thing to me in this game, I guess.
Okay. What about bats?
Yeah, I mean, it's just pitching that I have respect for. Like Chris Paddock is a good pitcher, but he's not really that useful for DFS because he doesn't go deep enough in the games to justify his salary normally. But I don't really want to take hitters against him either. You get Keston Hiura back for Milwaukee, so that does give them another good bat in their lineup, but not an offense that I'm prioritizing. On the other side, I think that Manny Machado stands out because he's still really, really cheap. And outside of his first at bat against Woodruff, I expect him to be facing Gonzalez for the next couple after that. So he's a decent one-off, but overall, I just don't think it's a very appealing game.
Okay. What about you? Do you have any hitting interest here? It's a pretty good park, but as Adam mentioned, 2 good pitchers, Alex.
I think that it's definitely not a game I'm targeting for hitting. The over-under of 8.5 is one of the lower ones we'll see these days. But they are fairly priced across the industry. Some guys that are interesting. Hunter Renfroe on Yahoo is $7. That's a guy with a ton of power. A lot better than the other Hunter Renfroe that you roster today, I'll tell you that. And Trent Grisham on FanDuel is super cheap. But overall, these teams don't have a ton of potential, but they're going to be super contrarian. So it could pay off, but not a core play.
Okay. Do we have anything else from this game? It's pretty quick there. but I guess it's just not one that's too appealing on either side, Adam.
I'll throw out Chris Paddock on FanDuel and Yahoo. On DraftKings, he's 10.2K. That's super expensive, but 8,741. That's more in line with a guy who doesn't go that deep in games, like Adam said.
All right. Well, Alex, what are your thoughts on Patrick Corbin against St. Louis or Miles Mikolas against Washington? Both teams don't have particularly high totals here and really shouldn't be expected to. Washington, a 3.9 run implied total, which is pretty incredible against Miles Mikolas. I can't say I would have expected it to be that low. And then against Patrick Corbin, it's around 4.2 as well. Do you have interest in pitching?
I have interest in Corbin. This guy who gets a ton of strikeouts, 28% on the year. The matchup is about average versus the Cardinals today. It looks like Mikolas strikes out 45% at the dish, so that's a nice boost over an average pitcher. And Corbin is well priced on Yahoo and FanDuel compared to some of the top options, so I think that I'll take some shares there. Mikolas on FanDuel maybe a consideration, and on Yahoo as he's getting ownership, but not a guy I love because he only strikes out 19% of guys. I'm surprised that he's getting so much credit because the Washington lineup they're rolling out today is actually like pretty strong, well above average. So I'm not enthusiastic about Mikolas.
All right, Adam, two low totals. I don't know. What's your take on these matchups for Corbin and Mikolas?
I'm really surprised how low Washington's total is because, like Alex said, they're running a good lineup out there for one. They got Howie Kendrick in there, which is always good, even though Dave Martinez doesn't seem to agree. It's a good lineup. Mikolas isn't a high strikeout guy. You have a lot of power on the Nats. So just kind of surprised at how low their implied run total is. I'm not looking to roster Mikolas. I don't think I would get to a lot of Nats either, just because there are so many, really good offenses on this slate. But I just think that their run total should be a little bit higher. As far as Corbin goes, he's affordable on Yahoo at $48. I think that's where I like him the most. I don't love the matchup because outside of Colton Wong, Colton Wong's the only lefty in the lineup. And so you're getting Corbin basically in a negative platoon split for almost every batter. And he's struck out about 26% of right-handed hitters this year compared to 38% of lefties. So that's, not great. And he's allowed a 187 expected ISO to righties. So dealing with guys like Goldschmidt, Ozuna, DeYoung, Molina does kind of scare me a little bit. And it keeps me from wanting to pay top dollar for him. But at 48 on Yahoo, I think that he's a strong play.
Is this game similar to you, to the Milwaukee game where you just don't have a lot of interest in hitters?
I don't have a lot of interest in hitters relative to the rest of the slate, I guess. I do think that the hitters in this game are more appealing to me than in the Milwaukee game because Corbin does give up some power to righties, and you do have the guys in the middle of the Cardinals lineup that have power. And then Mikolas will give up power, particularly to lefties, and you have Juan Soto. So I think that I'd be more interested in getting some one-offs from this game than the Milwaukee game.
Okay, and who would they be?
Soto from the Nats, Goldschmidt, Ozuna, DeYoung from the Cards.
Okay. Alex, what about you? Are you interested in bats from either side?
I see St. Louis is standing out as good value on DraftKings, but they're not really low enough to compensate for this 8 over/under in the game. So I'm not probably going to look to bats in this game.
Okay. Chicago Cubs and Cincinnati, Alex, Yu Darvish and Sonny Gray. What are we doing with Yu Darvish here at a astronomical price point?
Yeah, man, you said it. Like, he's super expensive aside from Yahoo today. On Yahoo, he's 48, so that's a nice discount from guys like Verlander, who typically are priced 60 or up. The spot is pretty decent for him. Cincinnati has a 3.17 total. It's not the lowest, but it's one of the lowest on today's slate. Darvish gets 30% Ks on the year. The Reds lineup strikes out at about an average clip. So I think that his price is justifiable on Yahoo, but on FanDuel and DraftKings, I don't see a ton of merit.
Adam?
Yeah, I agree with Alex.
So you don't really have any interest in Darvish across the board?
On Yahoo, I think he stands out. It's tougher on It's just tough to pay 11-2 on DraftKings because he's 1,400 less than Verlander. I think if you're paying all the way up there, it's for Verlander. On Yahoo though, at $48, I think that he's appealing. Since basically stopped walking everyone, he has a 33% strikeout percentage, 2.9% walk percentage. So yeah, I think he's a good player on Yahoo. I don't really like the Reds lineup though. I was hoping that we would get Van Meter and Votto to not be in the lineup, but they're both there, so that knocks down the strikeout upside a bit.
What about Sonny Gray?
It's just a really, really tough slate to get to Gray, I think. I obviously think he's a good pitcher, but on Yahoo, he's priced very close to Darvish. Same goes for FanDuel. On DraftKings, you're getting a bigger gap between him and Darvish, which I think makes it relatively a little bit easier to get to Gray. But you can also just go cheaper at pitching, which is the approach that I think I would rather get to. It's not a great matchup against the Cubs. They have a 105 WRC plus against right-handed pitching this year. Not a ton of strikeouts in the lineup, a lot of good hitters. So it's just that he's a little more expensive than I would want to pay.
Okay. Do you have any interest in Gray, Alex?
Man, shocked about what I just heard, honestly. But I have to agree with Adam. I think that if I'm going to be paying $10K for a pitcher, it's because they're in an exceptional spot versus the Cubs on the road. Even if the weather is good, I don't think is really justifiable in the on a 15-game slate.
Okay. What about hitters? You're looking at Wrigley Field here with the weather. It's really nothing crazy. No wind blowing in. 70 degrees at first pitch, so more favorable for pitching.
I think that there's some plays on both sides. Josh Van Meter on Yahoo, $7. He's leading off. He's a guy that has average power and steals some bases, so definitely a pretty good fantasy player. The matchup for Darvish isn't good though, so he's kind of a GPP flyer. Brian O'Grady on DraftKings and FanDuel is a nice solid relief option. He's 2K on both sides. It's a guy that also has power and stolen base upside, so a lot better fantasy player than the price tag on those sites. And then on the Cubs side, we got Zobrist leading off at $9 on Yahoo. That's a pretty good price, but he's not really a high upside player. It's just kind of a good number of plate appearances. And on DraftKings, Schwarber seems to always be underpriced. Batting cleanup, he's only 3,900.
Okay. Yeah. Adam, do you see yourself getting the hitters? Obviously, two really strong pitchers on the mound and one of your favorites, of course.
Yeah, probably not a lot of hitting here for me. I do think that if I were to target this game, I would be most interested in some one-offs from the Reds because Darvish does, even with all the improvements he's made, he does still give up home runs. And you have some pretty cheap guys with Josh Van Meter leading off. Suarez and Aquino both have tons of power. Brian O'Grady, like Alex said, is minimum priced. So I could see getting to some of those guys and just hoping that they run into a pitch from Darvish. But, overall, it's just two pitchers that I have a ton of respect for.
Okay. Well, then let's move on, Adam. We'll stick with you. Houston and Texas, Justin Verlander and Lance Lynn. Two other pitchers that have been very, very solid this season. Verlander obviously making a bid at the Cy Young. What did he throw? When was the no-hitter? Earlier this month? Yeah, September 1st. 14 strikeout, 1 walk, no-hitter. 61.7 DraftKings points. That's pretty solid. Lance Lynn's been really good too, though. And he's had to pitch in Arlington in half of his starts this season where he's still been really impressive. Do you see yourself getting not Lance Lynn against Houston, but what about Verlander at Minute Maid against this Rangers squad?
Yeah, I think Verlander is the top projected pitcher on the slate. It's just a matter of what offenses you're getting to that get him into your lineup. But there are so many cheap bats on this slate that I don't think it'll be that tough to get there. We have, Minnesota priced down. We have Cleveland that's really cheap. Even a lot of the bats in Coors Field are not that expensive. So I don't think it'll be that tough to get the Verlander. I do like the spot. Texas has plenty of strikeouts in their lineup, 5 lefties than the top 7. And Verlander actually has a higher strikeout percentage against lefties than righties this year. 38% of lefties, 32.2% of righties. He's held lefties to a 129 expected ISO compared to 186 to righties. So if anything, it's a little bit more favorable for Verlander the way this lineup sets up.
Yeah. When it comes to Justin Verlander, though, Adam, Well, I'll go to you, Alex, because Adam, you just kind of talked about it. He's 12-8 on DraftKings. He's 12K on FanDuel and 63 on Yahoo. Is it worth getting to him today, Alex?
I'm gonna take a stand here and say no. I mean, I don't want to say I'm not going to have him because he's my highest projected pitcher, and if there are some really cheap stacks that I'm getting in my lineups, he might fit the lineup better than other players. Um, but Texas, they're usually a pretty easy lineup to strike out, but today is an exception. Um, the lineup they're rolling out today is actually pretty good, above average in getting on base and power, below average in striking out. And I think that the industry is way higher on him than me. I've seen strikeout props of 9.5 across several sports books. I have them more around 8.5. And when you're paying 12K or more for a pitcher, that's not really uh, the number of strikeouts I'm looking for. I'm looking for more like nine or more, or maybe a slate without any good options. On Yahoo at 63, I think is where I'm a little bit more interested because Yahoo tends to have easier roster construction. So I think you can build lineups around him a lot easier on Yahoo. So I think he's a good play there. But on DraftKings and FanDuel, I'll probably be under the field.
I suspect there isn't a ton of interest in hitting here.
No, I think you're right. Yeah, I mean, Houston's always a good potential stack, so they could be that sneaky stack of the day, especially with their ownership if it stays constant. Yeah, they're super low owned for a team of their talent.
Adam, do you have any interest in bats?
No, outside of what Alex just said, anytime you get Houston at no ownership, it's at least worth considering. But Lynn's just a really good pitcher, someone that I think, I'm not too excited to take bats against.
Okay. Let's talk about Colorado and the Mets then, Alex. Marcus Stroman and Tim Melville, both teams with gigantic totals, as should be the case. Well, at least on one side, you have a monster total. It's 7.5 for Marcus or for the New York Mets, which is pretty incredible. Well over 6 for the Rockies too against Stroman, but Stroman's not a bad pitcher. I mean, it's a horrible park, no denying that. But Stroman's a solid arm. He's a solid righty, and I think he's even made some vast improvements this season, and they've shown. But let's start with, well, do you have any interest in pitching before I move on?
No, I mean, Coors Field 13.5 over under, like that's not a good pitching spot.
I know. Have to ask though. What about these Mets bats against Melville? Are they your top team right now? They have a top stack potential of 20 or probability of 23% on a 14 game slate, which is insane. Just nuts, and 17% ownership. So popular and in a really, really good spot.
They're a top team for sure, but they're not my top team. The prices are like super good on DraftKings FanDuel. Yahoo a little bit more expensive, but still very appealing. I mean, the 8-team total, that's off the charts, more than a run higher than any other total on the slate. So clearly the best projected lineup today, but the ownership is extremely high in our projection. So I have a little bit of tepid interest. I'm going to have them a lot for sure, but my top teams are probably going to be ones with lower ownership.
Okay. Adam, how much of these Mets bats are you getting to against Melville?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously agree with Alex that the ownership's really high, but I still really like the spot. We just got the lineup, and they're not overpriced, but they're not as cheap as the Rockies are either. So maybe people go to the other side of this game a little bit more. I think Brandon Nimmo leading off is like a clear top value play. McNeil, Alonso are both expensive, but really good. Cano, Ramos, Conforto, like I like the entire lineup. And it is a lineup that I think you can kind of mix and match and get to the bottom of the order where maybe guys are a little bit lower owned and get contrarian that way without having to not have the Mets.
Okay. Well, who are your top bats here then?
Basically 1 through 8. I mean, Nimmo, factoring in price, I think Nimmo is probably the best play from the Mets leading off. Alonso and McNeil would be next. Ramos then, because he's a catcher. And then I guess Cano, Conforto, Frazier, Rosario.
Okay. Alex, I know you talk about not having a ton of interest here just based on ownership, but which bats do you think are in the best spots here?
I want to be clear. I mean, like, I have interest. I just don't think that it's easy to make money in DFS picking a team that this popular.
Right.
I mean, but at the same time, I could just read their lineup off from 1 to 8. Those would be my favorite batters.
Okay. Fair enough. Anything from Colorado for you, Adam?
Really good values. It's pretty crazy to get pricing in Coors Field like we have on the Rockies. And I think Stroman is a pretty good pitcher. Like, he doesn't give up a lot of barrel balls, gets a lot of ground balls, but pitchers like him really scare me in Coors because the main positive effect for hitters in Coors isn't even so much home runs. It's that the batting average on balls in play goes up. And a pitcher like Stroman that doesn't get strikeouts and relies on batted balls being hit at people. Now you have a fast infield, you have a giant outfield where balls fall in. It can get be a little bit easier for guys to have, or for Colorado hitters to have success against a pitcher who doesn't strike out a lot of guys. So I think that the pricing on the Rockies combined with the type of pitcher Stroman is makes Colorado, a really appealing stack here.
Okay. What about Colorado hitters for you then, Alex, against Stroman?
Top play for sure. I mean, Stroman is he's been an above average pitcher on the year, but not by a ton for xFIP. I like Adam's analysis about strikeouts being more valuable in Coors. And I like some of the prices here. Daniel Murphy is a guy that really stands out at 3,100 on FanDuel, batting second in Coors with a 6.5 team total. I mean, that's like a cash lock. 4,400 on Draftkings is also very underpriced. And the whole stack is full with guys that are good values on Yahoo. Tapia and Hilliard are $7 and $8. I mean, I'll take any guy with 2 hands and Coors at that price. So I think it'll be a popular stack and one that I'll have some shares of.
Okay. Arizona, Miami, Adam, Alex Young, Caleb Smith. I am a big fan of his, but it just seems this season he's been all over the map. He's dealt with some injuries. He was lights out at home. He's even come back down to earth there, which makes sense. But now he's going up against the Arizona Diamondbacks in Chase Field. Let's start with him. He's $8,500 on DraftKings, so you're not exactly paying a premium for Smith, but it's not a great spot either. He's cheaper than Adam Plutko on FanDuel at $7,600, which is pretty incredible. And then over on Yahoo, he's 46. So he's clearly the most expensive on Yahoo, cheapest on FanDuel, right in the middle on DraftKings.
Yeah, I think it's a really, really scary spot for him because he's outside of Miami. The roof's open in Arizona, so the ball's going to carry a bit better than when the roof's closed. He does struggle with right-handed power. Like, he has really good strikeout stuff, but he struggles with right-handed power. And a lot of this Arizona lineup has a ton of power and doesn't strike out a lot. If you look at their numbers against left-handed pitching since last year, Carson Kelly, Ketel Marte, Nick Ahmed, Eduardo Escobar all have an ISO over 200. So does Christian Walker. Wilmer Flores is at 179. And the only hitter out of that group that strikes out over 20% of the time is Christian Walker. So just not a lot of strikeouts, tons of power, and a park downgrade. I'm more interested in the Diamondbacks than I am in Smith.
Okay, interesting. Who would you say your top hitters are from this team?
Christian Walker at 3,600, I think, is a really good value. So is Wilmer Flores at 3,800. And then I think, to be contrarian, you can pay up for Ketel Marte because I don't think anyone's going to roster $5,200 Marte, even though he has been really good. Okay.
Alex, what about Caleb Smith?
I have some interest on FanDuel where he's 7,600. It's a guy 28% strikeouts on the year. That's pretty solid. The team I have striking out a little bit less than average though, so it's not an ideal matchup, and being outside in Arizona is a downgrade. But at 28% Ks, he really is more of like a 9K pitcher on FanDuel probably. So that's a nice price discount you're getting on Caleb Smith today. And I do like the fact that Alex Young is terrible at the plate. He'll probably only get one plate appearance, being the home pitcher. That doesn't go deep in games, but he strikes out more than 70% of the time at the dish, which is that's my signature stat. So I got to mention it.
Okay. What about Alex Young and Miami Marlins here? Alex, does this do anything for you? An $8,700 Alex Young?
Usually, we love the pitchers versus the Marlins, but Alex Young might be the first one that isn't really in play. He isn't bad at strikeouts, 22%. The Miami lineup today is abysmal in power. They strike out about an average rate, but the weather in Arizona is a pretty significant factor here. So Miami still has a team total of 4.3 despite having such a bad lineup. So I don't really think he's worth the price tag that he has across the sites.
Okay. Adam, do you think Alex Young is worth it anywhere?
No, I'm not interested either because it's also just not as good a strikeout matchup for left-handed pitchers against Miami. We don't have their lineup yet, but assuming they're going to have something that has Rojas, Castro, Ramirez, Prado, they're just not great strikeout guys, and it's basically an entirely right-handed lineup most likely. So I don't really want to pay up for Alex Young here.
Okay, what about Miami bats? Anything here? Because he has seemed pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean, Miami, I still don't think it's any good. Like, I think my favorite play for Miami would be Jorge Alfaro, assuming he's hitting cleanup. But there's actually a decent amount of good catchers on this slate.
Okay. Any other bats that you want to talk about, Alex, before we move on?
I think Arizona, they definitely are in play despite the fact that they're going up against Caleb Smith. The values are really solid. Timel Castro at $8 on Yahoo batting leadoff. Tristan Walker at $9 batting cleanup. I mean, those are absurd prices. Like, you can get those in your lineup any day. Miami is a great value on Draftkings and FanDuel, and Yahoo to a lesser extent. But they actually are kind of like that sneaky stack people are expecting today. So they are going to be overowned to a significant degree. So I'm probably fading him there, despite the fact that I'll probably have some in my crunch.
Okay. Well, let's talk about Oakland and Kansas City. But before we do, awesemo.com/join. Get 50% off your first month of Awesemo Plus subscription. That's how you do it. Use the sign-up code DeeperDive, all one word. Go to awesemo.com/join. You can check out the videos and everything that we have right there in front of you. Will give you a good idea of what you're getting before you jump in, so you're not flying blind. Ownership projections, player projections, the top stack tool, all of which have been designed and used every day by Alex Baker, Awesemo himself, of course. The lineup builder, fantasy cruncher add-on, all of our premium articles, and so much more. Check it out. And if you're not ready to do that yet, head over to awesemo.com and create a free account so you can check out the free articles while you ponder the decision of signing up and becoming a premium member. If you do, of course, hit us up in that premium Slack chat, introduce yourself, and say what's up. It's awesemo.com/join. Use the sign-up code DeeperDive to get 50% off your first month. All right, Adam, Oakland and Kansas City. What do you make of this one between Jorge Lopez and Brett Anderson?
I really wish I didn't have to talk about Brett Anderson, but I think on DraftKings you kind of do, just because there's not a great strikeout pitcher in the cheap SP2 options, other than, I guess, Velasquez, but he obviously has a really tough matchup against Atlanta. So normally, while I don't look to roster pitchers that I just think can, maybe not give up a lot of runs, at 5,300, I think Anderson's viable. Only a 3.6 implied run total for Kansas City. He's only struck out 12% of hitters this year, but does have the third highest ground ball percentage on the slate. You're really, and is in a favorable park. It's only 65 degrees. So you're really just hoping he gives you 6 innings, gets maybe like 4 strikeouts, and gets lucky as far as run prevention goes. But at 5,300, I think that he's viable on DraftKings. On FanDuel or Yahoo, I don't think he's necessary because of how cheap Keller is.
Okay. Alex, is there any interest in pitching on either side of this game? I mean, there's one positive. It's a good park, and that's about it.
Yeah, I think actually on DraftKings, these two pitchers are going to be in my lineups for sure. I was amused that Brett Anderson. I saw some strikeout props on different books, and it was at 3.5. Like to me, that's way too high. Like I, he struck out 12% on the year. The lineup the Kansas City Royals are probably running out is below average in case. So if you multiply 12% times, I have him for 23 and a half batters. That's only 2.8 strikeouts. So I think that's a sports bet I like if you guys are in New Jersey or Pennsylvania, West Virginia. I gotta move out to one of these states so I can bet these degen bets like Brett Anderson strikeout props, but sadly Illinois doesn't have it yet. Jorge Lopez is he's like one of the cheapest, if not the cheapest, on DraftKings at 4,700. He's not a bad strikeout pitcher. He's got 21% on the year. That would be more worth like 6 to 7K, and that really compensates for going up against a tough team in the A's.
All right. Well, Adam, Lopez and Anderson, neither are superior pitchers. Do any hitters stand out to you?
Yeah, I think Oakland does. Lopez, he has better strikeout stuff than Anderson, but overall, not a great pitcher. And the A's just have a lot of power in their lineup. I think that the park and the weather knocks Oakland down a bit for me as far as my favorite stacks go. But still, getting a really cheap Chris Davis, cheap Seth Brown, Matt Chapman's only 4,200 on DraftKings. Matt Olson is 5K, which I think is fine. I think that they just have so much power in this lineup that they're at least somewhat appealing against Lopez.
Okay. Alex, what are you thinking about hitters?
There's some I like. I think Oakland as a team probably will go under the radar, and Lopez, despite the fact that I like him on DraftKings, I mean, clearly a below average pitcher, so I think that the A's can certainly have a good game. A couple of guys are standing out as great values. Matt Chapman on DraftKings at 4,200 is a nice one. 2,900 for Ramon Laureano on FanDuel. On Yahoo, the A's are just super, super expensive, so I don't really recommend them there. But you can make a pretty nice lineup out of them on DraftKings and FanDuel, and it'll probably be decent.
All right, well, let's get to the last game here. Alex, we've got Tampa Bay and the LA Dodgers. So, as we're seeing with Brandon Woodruff coming off the DL, it appears as though Blake Snell, also coming off the DL, will be the starter here. But we're expecting him to throw like 3 innings from what I saw. Obviously can't play him, not that you'd want to against the Dodgers anyway. And then Austin Pruitt is your long guy. Ross Stripling starting for the LA Dodgers. Hard to get to pitching here. Does Ross Stripling do anything for
Stripling scratched.
What's up?
Stripling scratched. It's Caleb Ferguson.
Starting?
Caleb Ferguson.
Okay, I was going to say Stripling doesn't throw more than 40 pitches anyway.
I don't think Ferguson will either.
Yeah, so I mean, no pitching here, right, Alex?
Well, not on the main slate, but man, this is crazy. But out of the 4 pitchers on the 9 or the 10 p.m. late slate, Blake Snell actually, like, despite the fact that I have him going for 3 innings, is in the conversation. I have him projected for like between 9 and 10 points. It's around where Lopez and Brett Anderson are. And if people are fading Snell because he's only pitching 3 innings, maybe that could work out pretty nicely.
Okay. Adam, I'm assuming you haven't looked at the late slate. So right now for Snell would be a no.
Yeah. Obviously he's going to project for when you compare him to guys like Lopez and Anderson on the night slate, he's going to project for or project favorably. But in terms of the main slate, just not like he's really cheap, and we expect him to be limited.
Okay. What are you thinking about Austin Pruitt coming up behind him. He probably only throws like 3 innings himself, right? If Snell's supposed to go 3, maybe he goes like 4.
Yeah, and I don't think that Austin Pruitt against the Dodgers is anything that I would be looking to get to.
Yeah, me neither. Are there any hitters here? Because it's not like either matchups are all that appealing.
Yeah, I'm not really interested in either side. I mean, the first 3 innings or whatever are going to be against Blake Snell. So that's a really tough matchup for the Dodgers. On the other side, as far as I know, I guess, getting a bullpen game from the Dodgers. And those just aren't really that appealing to target against anyway. So with all the good hitting spots on tonight's slate, I don't think this is one that I'm really interested in.
Okay. Alex, what about you?
I think Ross Stripling is in the conversation. I just saw some beat writers said he's going to be the bulk reliever. I mean, for him, that only means 3 innings. I'm only talking night slate here, actually, so I got to clarify that. But since there's only 2 games, I could see going for a Stripling, and I think the fact that he's coming in relief is a good thing because he can pick up a win where if he's starting, there's basically no chance of that. So I consider it on the night slate. One comment I have, if you're playing this night slate, definitely enable the batters with pitcher because I mean these guys are not going to be in these games long.
No, they're not. All right, well, let's talk about our top pitching and then our top stacks. Adam, right now, who are your top pitchers if you had to give 3?
So Verlander obviously at the top. Mitch Keller, especially on FanDuel and Yahoo, and then DraftKings specifically Martin Perez.
Okay, and Alex?
Yeah, I like Perez a lot on DraftKings as well. I mean, Verlander is my top projected guy. I like Corbin. Velasquez is someone I think is underrated on the slate. I'll probably have exposure to a variety of guys, preferring to go for some cheaper options.
Okay. And Adam, what are your thoughts on top stacks? Obviously, we have a bunch of teams today that have implied totals projected over 6. You've got New York Mets above 7.5, Minnesota above 6.5, Cleveland at 6.6, Colorado at 6.4, Oakland at 6.2, Boston, I think, also 6.2, Atlanta 6.1 or 2. God, and then Toronto's right up around 6. You have a lot of teams projected to score a lot of runs today. And outside of the Mets, who right now have 17% projected ownership on DraftKings, you have Minnesota at 12, Colorado at 11, and then Miami, amazingly, at 9 based on their salaries. But and I would assume that's because, like always, Justin Verlander coming in with high ownership is always going to force people onto less appealing teams that are bad, but also have really cheap price tags. What are your thoughts on all of these options under the 4 that I mentioned, under or aside from the Mets, Minnesota, Colorado, and Miami? Because after that, the ownership drops off a cliff, like 6% on Cleveland, 5% on Arizona, 5 on Kansas City, 4 on Cincinnati, less than 4 on Boston right now. Talk to me about a few of these teams just based on the ownership, top stack chances, and how they fall in with the rest of the group.
Yeah, I think that Oakland, Atlanta, and Boston right now, with how we have ownership projected, are standing out to me as teams that just have a high ceiling, and it's not really being reflected in the ownership. They have flaws, Oakland being that they're playing in Oakland. Atlanta is not really cheap, and they have not the easiest matchup against Velasquez, but just tons of upside for these teams. And with so much ownership going to the Mets, the Rockies, the Twins, I think that they'll come in on their own. Like, I don't think that I don't like their spots as much as I like the Mets or the Twins or the Rockies, but I think that with how ownership looks, they're going to be pretty appealing tournament stacks.
So who do you think right now will be your most popular stack?
Probably the Mets or Minnesota still.
Okay. So 2 of the chalkiest ones, but also Mets with 23% top stack probability, 17% ownership. And that definitely is still, there's still enough there. There's still enough meat left on that bone. Whereas with Minnesota, it looks a little bit different. The same with Colorado. And amazingly, Alex, Miami has a top stack chance of 1.4% and projected ownership of 9.1%. I mean, talk about a massive gap.
Yeah, I think that when you got guys like Verlander, who, he's on an insane hot streak. He pitched a no-hitter not too long ago. And if you want to get him, you're going to have to go to some teams like Miami if you want to also get in like some Mets bats, some Minnesota bats. So I can see how Miami is going to be pretty high owned, and really diminishes my interest in some of these bargain bin teams. So I like going to some tougher teams to get to, like Boston, like Atlanta. One deep sleeper I have are the White Sox. They're going to be a little bit harder to get to in optimizers, but they are about half the ownership of their chances of being the stack that wins it for you tonight. So finding spots like that on the top stacks tool, I think that'll help you, especially in the large field GPPs. When it comes to the higher stakes tournaments too, I think that the Mets and the Twins are just so far and away the best stacks. They're going to probably be very high owned, so I might try to go even more contrarian once I move up in stakes a little bit.
Okay. Alex, when you're looking at ownership too, we had our last update 10 minutes ago over at awesemo.com. If you're a premium member, check that out. If not, awesemo.com/join. Deeper Dive is the sign-up code to get you 50% off your first month. With the latest iteration, we've got Justin Verlander. Just talking pitching here, we just got into the stacks. Justin Verlander, 31% on DraftKings, even at 12.8, 31%. He seems to be wildly popular every time he toes the rubber. And then 19% highest projected pitcher on FanDuel. Even at 63 on Yahoo, 38% highest projected overall player. So DraftKings Yahoo, highest projected player overall. Not only that, Martin Perez, Alex, is the second highest projected on pitcher at 20%. Marco Gonzalez at 17. Darvish and Anderson round out the top five at 16 and 15 respectively. Are there any guys right now that are projected to have less ownership? I don't even want to say low ownership because Mitch Keller, as Adam mentioned earlier, he's 12%, reasonable enough. Caleb Smith, 12%. Your boy Velasquez, 10. So who do you like most outside of that really popular top five, which when you look at Anderson and Gonzalez and Perez, all of them or none of them are exactly in spots where they just can't screw up. I mean, it could be very possible that all three of those guys at high ownership suck today. So do you think it makes sense to get away from that a little bit?
Yeah, I'm happier taking higher end pitchers in general, but that doesn't mean I won't take some shots on some sneakier guys. One guy that I think is going overlooked is Caleb Smith. Not unreasonably priced on DraftKings, but pretty good bargain for his talent level on FanDuel. So I think that he's kind of a mid-range option where maybe you get a different lineup construction going with him compared to some of the other guys. And Vince Velasquez, as you mentioned, one of my favorite plays because the matchup is sneaky good for strikeouts, and he's a guy that gets a lot of them. So the fact that he's a 183 dog and Atlanta has a 16 total will scare enough people off that maybe he could be the ticket to taking down some tournaments tonight.
Okay. And then for you, Adam, all the way down here, you've got Alex Young. He's pretty pricey, but 4%. Trent Thornton, 0.7%. He seems to never have any ownership at all. Are there any just like ridiculously low-owned guys that you have interest in today, even if you're just sprinkling them in?
I think if I had to like choose one guy out of that group, it would be Thornton, just because it's a pretty decent matchup against Baltimore. But like Alex said, I don't worry about pitcher ownership quite as much. And I think that our projected ownership for right now, outside of Marco Gonzalez, who I don't think makes a lot of sense, but with Verlander, Perez, Darvish, Anderson being the guys that are getting ownership, I think that makes sense to me.
Yeah, it's not even that I'm worried about pitching ownership. It's just a lot of these guys at the top aren't good.
Yeah, totally agree.
So like if we had a bunch of guys above 15% and they were at least, reasonably decent pitchers, I probably wouldn't even mention this, but Perez, he's fine. Like you said, doesn't allow a ton of power, but he's not great. Marco Gonzalez, my God, that dude, I think every time I've tried to run out Marco Gonzalez, it has ended in absolute, utter disaster. Although once in a while he comes out with some solid appearances, and we've seen that recently. So, all right, last thing here before we head out and hand it over to the live before lock fellas. For today, you're going to have none other than Josh Engelman and Chris Randone taking you up till 7:05 Eastern time on this 14 gamer. Adam, just last thing here, like of those guys, who do you feel most confident in? And, you know, I use the word confident lightly. Perez, Gonzalez, and Anderson above 15%.
I guess Perez, but like you said, definitely using that word lightly.
Okay. Anything else to add here, Alex? Any tips, pointers, strategy before we head out for the day?
Yeah, I think that this is a really interesting slate because the good plays are so obvious with Minnesota, with the Mets. Maybe a few people will be off the Mets because Coors has been such a disappointment recently, but I think it's easy to build a lineup with those guys. So it really pays to go for some lower owned guys, and that's my preferred strategy tonight. Just thanks everyone for watching and supporting the show, and looking forward to finishing this off over the next 2 weeks with you guys.
Don't go anywhere. Stay right here on this exact page at Awesome Mo on YouTube, because Engelman, Randone coming up next. You don't have to go to another link. Stay right here. It will magically turn into live before lock after Josh plays some gnarly elevator music to get you prepped and hyped up for this show. Hit us with a thumbs up if you enjoy it. You want to help support us. It does help us quite a bit personally, and at awesomemo.com. And of course, our YouTube channel right here. Subscribe, hit the notification bell as well. We'll see you back here tomorrow on the Deeper Dive. The three of us will be joining you for Wednesday's slate. Good luck tonight.
Pow. What's up, everybody? Here we are once again. Myself, Jake Hari, live before lock. Brennan in YouTube chat says, I heard this is preseason NHL show now. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that it is not. Unless Mario Lemieux and Mark Messier are back, I'm not going to know a lot about hockey. Jake, what's up?
Yeah, preseason NHL, that's what we're here to talk about. Pretty good baseball slate, actually.
It is.
So second time going through it, me and you, we'll have exposures and see where we're at. A little bit different than what I expected this morning. So we'll see.
Interesting. I'm anxious to hear where you're at. Just going to get this out of the way now. This is not me getting the plugs out of the way. I'm playing a very small amount of lineups on FanDuel today. I've accumulated a couple of tickets for their Grand Slam. So I think it's called the Grand Slam. I don't know what it's called. It's not important. Otherwise, baseball has me less than enthused. So I am focused solely on building out 6 specific lineups on FanDuel and just that. So I'm not going to be talking about like what I've got on DK, but I can tell you what I would have. I still have all of my data, but caveat there right now. Let's get the plugs out of the way. Live before lock is the promo code. 50% off your first month of Awesemo Plus. If you want to check out what we've got for football, basketball, baseball, hockey coming up, college football, golf, MMA, NASCAR, WNBA. We had Champions League projections today. I got those in by the skin of my teeth. We'll have them up again for tomorrow. They'll get easier as we go. That was all ready to go. We've just got a ton of content. Sports betting. It's good stuff. Good stuff. So use the promo code live before lock if you want to sign up. One big word, no spaces. You try to use a space, it's going to fail. We are also brought to you by the presenting sponsor of our live before lock shows. What up to Fantasy Draft? Fantasy Draft is the only rake-free daily fantasy site in the industry, and they're running their $750,000 rake-free contest, the Hooters main event. Gotta love it. It's the largest and only rake-free contest you'll find in week 3. If you want to sign up at Fantasy Draft, you can use the promo code AWESEMO when you go to fantasydraft.com, and you'll get up to $1,000 in rake-free entries for your first 7 days. You won't have to pay a single cent. You'll be able to put $1,000 in, and you won't have to pay a single cent back out. You really cannot beat that. Again, go to fantasydraft.com. Use the promo code AWESEMO. You can get that 7-day free trial membership. Jake.
Yeah, I'm playing on Fantasy Draft.
Baseball?
Baseball? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm trying to save money. I just want to see my winnings, or my winnings. Well, I'd like to see my winnings go up. I made some money yesterday over on Fantasy Draft, but I would also like to just see, like, playing there for a while, just seeing how much money I'm saving in rake. Always makes me feel
at least
good.
that number is going to go up.
Oh, that number can only go up. It's the smartest thing by Fantasy Draft. Even if you're losing money, you're like, well, I would be losing more money over at some other sites. So a nice little boost there to the morale. Fantasy Draft Jordan actually sent me an image that they sent me. So we'll have that image for the Hooters contest in the email blast tomorrow, probably. So just a little bit different looking. You know, you see a lot of football pictures and baseball pictures and all that. So we'll switch it up a little bit tomorrow.
What kind of Hooters are you putting in an email blast?
No, it's one of the Hooters young women, just like holding the football. So I just saw it. I just thought I'd mention that. So different look tomorrow for the email blast.
That's exciting. I hope it's not just you in like a blonde wig and a tied off Hooters shirt.
I mean, come on. You don't think I can pull that off?
I mean, anybody can pull that off nowadays, I guess, right? You're whatever you want to be. Justin Verlander, 12,800 on DraftKings. The chalk pitcher of the slate on DK per our ownership. How you feeling about old JV?
So it's just what basically I am finding exactly what Alex said on the deeper dive to be true for myself, which makes me feel good about my process tonight. He is almost 13K. We both agree he's the best option on the slate if salary wasn't a thing.
Yep.
Salary is a thing, though. And if you play Verlander, you're going to be limited in what you can do with the rest of your lineups. Way different than what you would get if you're playing like a 9K pitcher or something like that. I mean, it's just endless possibilities if that's how you start your lineups. When you start with Verlander, you're going to be narrowed down to a few teams, and really good teams like the Twins, who are obviously in a great spot. But you're also seeing some of these teams. Let me pull up the top stack tool and get a quick refresh, because there were some pretty worrisome numbers on some of these teams getting ownership that don't have a good chance of being the top stack at all. Miami was up there. Cincinnati, like KC, like all these teams are getting a little bit of ownership, and I don't really agree with a lot of that. So I'm finding myself getting to some of these higher priced stacks, and I'm foregoing a lot of Verlander. I had 4% on my last crunch there.
4?
Mm-hmm.
That's a big fade.
It's not like, oh, like, you know, I've got stones, you know, I'm fading Verlander. It's just that I
am fading Verlander.
What's that?
It's just that you are fading Verlander.
I'm not fading him intentionally. It's not like, all right, Verlander's going to be 50%. I'm just going to go the other way.
Yeah, sure.
It's I just don't think he makes the kind of lineups. He helps me make the kind of lineups that I want to make tonight.
I don't disagree. Playing devil's advocate on this one.
No, because I essentially said exactly what you're saying.
So 31% ownership going to Verlander right now. You said that you have 4. Am I right? Somewhere in that neighborhood?
Yeah, let's see. I just uploaded the top stack tool. That's going to move around some of my exposures. It'll probably bump him even lower. Now I'm at 4 shares out of 150, 2.7%.
Okay, so 2.7%. Here's the question. Where's the rest of that ownership going? You Darvish? Or are you diving all the way down to, I don't know, Mitch Keller?
Oh, we're dumpster diving.
Okay.
There's a few guys I get to before Keller, but Keller is one of the main ones. Was glad to see a pretty decent projection from Alex's on the website. So I definitely agree with Keller being one of the better options in the non-elite tier with Darvish and Verlander, and maybe you include Corbin. Sonny Gray, I suppose you could include him. But yeah, I'm really liking dropping down to Mitch Keller. And he's really the only expensive guy I'm playing. I got 6% of Darvish. Not really crazy about that play, but he's just less expensive than Verlander. So in the lineups that I do get to a cheap Minnesota stack, it'll likely be with Darvish and paying up for another bat or two. What's so funny?
Mr. Shadow Dog in chat. That's why I'm watching this spreadsheet update show.
What?
It's just a funny way to describe this show. The spreadsheet update show.
Dude, it is. It is a spreadsheet update show. This is what we do every day. We've been grinding this for 5.5 months. That's really what it is. That's what we should call it. Just in the description.
Osmo.com spreadsheet update show.
Yeah, because that's what we're doing. We're just manipulating data, and neither me or you are the biggest baseball fans, like pure baseball fan, like love a guy who bats .302 with 4 home runs on the season. Like, I don't think we're into that.
I would watch a wiffle ball league if it existed.
Yeah. I love playoff baseball, so I'm all in for the playoffs, and especially if the Cubs get there. I guess I'll root for the Twins, I suppose. Maybe see some friends being happy for once with a Minnesota team.
Who wants to see your friends happy?
I mean, I secretly don't, but it's hard not to. I just don't have the mean streak in me to like truly root against them, but like I'll do it as a joke.
Yeah, as a joke. You are the owner and general manager and president of baseball operations for the Minnesota Jakes, so you're clearly going to be rooting for them.
Josh is a huge Braves fan. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
3-man challenge picks? I don't know what that is. That a Oh, is that FanDuel?
I think so, yeah. No, I don't have those. I don't even know what it is.
Yeah, I've never played that.
I probably should.
Probably not going to start today.
Yeah, seems like a weird time. I don't know. Maybe it'd make baseball more interesting. So, who is your highest exposed pitcher? Brett Anderson?
You ready for this? It is not Brett Anderson.
Martin Perez?
It is Martin Perez.
Let me
It's
guess.
nothing unexpected.
64%.
No. This isn't a Pablo Lopez situation. It's under 50.
Okay.
I'm at 48.7 right now. In a perfect world, I think what I would like to have is Velasquez, Lopez, Anderson, Perez, and any other cheap guy. Marco, I got to some shares of. I guess you could throw in Eovaldi. I would just like to get all those guys between like 15 and 30.
Right.
And just spread it around. But since I'm using what we have on the site, there's just some guys that are better values. And that's why I'm getting to a little bit more Perez than everyone else. And then it's Velasquez. Then it's Jorge Lopez. Did you see that one coming at all? Like, would you have played him?
No.
So
it would have been all Anderson, Martin Perez, Marco Gonzalez for me.
I haven't looked into why I'm getting so much Jorge, and now I can see why, just taking a look at the projections. I just assumed he would project for like 7 points, and he's at almost 9.5 on Alex's on DK. So it is a price play, but he's also a okay value for that price, and your lineup's just going to be stacked when you play him.
He doesn't grade out poorly. He just grades out worse than those other guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like, on a different day, he'd probably be really popular. But Anderson and Martin Perez are kind of breaking things.
Yeah. Oh, man. Anderson is actually, is this right? He's only 14% owned. Seems kind of low, but.
I've got 15 in here, unless we got an update in the last couple of minutes.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Last update was 32 minutes ago. Okay, so that's the one that I have. Yeah, so, I mean, if he's 15, like, I would have had 50 for sure.
That's what I thought I was going to have. I thought it was just going to be Perez, Anderson, and just double punting all my lineups.
So who's the first guy in double digits of ownership do you have from the top of the salary tier?
Say that again? Double digits?
Yeah, like, who's the first guy that you have a lot of if you're working your way from top to bottom in salary? Like, I know you don't have Verlander, but, like, where do you start to pick up ownership?
Okay, so it's not Verlander. It's not really Darvish. It's not Corbin. It's not Gray. It's not Paddock. Who's next? Keuchel, Lynn. Neither of those two guys really.
Alex Young, Caleb Smith.
Let's see. Where did I get to on Young? I want to get to Smith. I might bump his projection up a little bit. I get to a few shares of Smith. Nothing wild. Alex Young was the other one you said?
Yeah.
0.
Mitch Keller?
Yeah. So I got to a bunch of Keller.
Okay, so Mitch Keller is where you start, basically.
That's where I start, yeah. So
everyone else $100 Mitch Keller.
Everyone else getting just cut off. Then it's like Eovaldi. A lot of my teams tonight will not spend more than like $1,600 on pitching. I would say like 75% of my lineups won't have more than $1,600.
Well, that's going to open up some bats.
Yeah. So the bats look phenomenal. This is always it. Like, you just get every single good bat. You've always got a good stack. So I'd rather have a good stack than a good pitcher because of the inherent variance of hitters anyways.
Yeah.
Like, even if Verlander scores 35 tonight, which he probably will, if you get the right two pitchers, if you get Keller going for 22 and someone else going for 16 or 20 or something like that, you just catch two of these outlier performances from the pitching, then you're set if you have the right bats. And the Verlander people just cannot get to a full Met stack that's not going to be a 1v1 from the next person.
I don't like the lineups that I'm going to have to play. I mean, I like the lineups that I'm going to have to play, but it just feels so chalky.
Did you see what T McBee said in chat?
Now let me check it out.
Yeah, maybe we shouldn't rename it the Spreadsheet Show.
Crunch and sort at awesemo.com.
How about this? We've got people lately asking for likes from their fellow viewers. They're just doing our jobs for us.
I appreciate it. You guys should hit the like button. 715 viewers and 104 likes is pathetic. Thank you, Greg. I appreciate that. We're on the same page here. Are you getting to Miles Michaelis at all? I'm going to shout out a couple guys that I'm curious to find out where you are. Give me Miles Michaelis. Give me Adam Plutko. Where are you on both guys?
Well, I don't see them at first glance. Michaelis. 0, Michaelis.
Okay.
Plutko is probably 0. Yep, Plutko is 0. They're just not good strikeout pitchers. Like Keller is so far and away the best option in that range for me. So I'm just taking it to the bank with Keller. Like they're more expensive than guys who I think have higher strikeout upside than them tonight. Velasquez mostly. I don't know that you can argue Perez has more strikeout upside than Michaelis, or who was the other one you said?
Plutko.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you could make that argument. I'm pretty sure Plutko's at like 16% K rate on the season. Yikes.
I have Martin Perez, Plutko, and Michaelis all with essentially the same strikeout projection.
Yeah, so just give me the cheaper guy. Martin Perez what is he up to right now for a favorite? Yeah, he's still minus 192.
Yeah.
Didn't think you'd see too many of those. But
no, not at all. No, it's really hard to get away from him and Brett Anderson today. Okay, here's the question. Who's more likely to blow up, Martin Perez or Brett Anderson? Which guy hurts your lineup? Was more likely to hurt your lineup tonight?
Martin Perez, I think. Because when it's not working for him, it's not like the White Sox don't have guys that can punish him, and it's not like it's a bad park for hitting by any means. So there are some worrisome bats in the White Sox lineup. I would say that the top 6 is pretty quality for Chicago. And then for KC, Anderson just never seems to get blown up all that often outside of maybe starts against Houston, which you can understand. Yeah. Just a better park. They're both like crafty veteran pitchers. One of them's probably going to get blown up tonight, but I hope the other one scores 20.
Sure you do. I will not have either guy. I will have a lot of Mitch Keller, I think. Other than that, I don't think I will have any of the dumpster diving guys today. Let's see. From a FanDuel perspective, guys that I've got my eye on, Verlander for sure at the top. Mitch Keller at the bottom. 5,800 is just way too cheap. And then in the middle section, I keep getting Eovaldi popping up in a lineup, 6,600, which I think is kind of interesting on FanDuel. And then at the top, I can't imagine it being anybody other than Verlander. I don't really want to go to Darvish or Gray or Corbin or any of those guys. So we'll see.
Yeah, FanDuel is. I'm not playing on FanDuel tonight, so I guess I will just defer to you with what you have to say on FanDuel. You've obviously looked at it more than I have. Haven't even crunched out lineups for it. Can you fit Verlander? Can you get quality lineups with Verlander over there? I'm assuming you can.
Yes, absolutely.
12K?
Yeah. So I have 3 of my top 6 lineups on here right now with Verlander, and I can give you like the breakdown. A bunch of them have Mets. I've got Indians with them, Blue Jays with them, Twins. There's no issue with getting to those pieces.
So you got good. I mean, those are all stackable teams. All teams with. I mean, it's not like you have to stack up Detroit or someone like that.
So here's exactly what I have in the top 6 lineups that I have right now. Now I'm going to re-crunch, or at least resort with ownership and move some guys around since this is just an individual 6 lineups. I'll do a little bit of manual manipulation if I have to. Only teams that I have exposure to: Mets, Twins, Blue Jays, Indians, and someone is a one-off on the Diamondbacks, which I could probably change. It is Eduardo Escobar. So don't even really need to change it, but he is the single one-off. Everything else is 4 4-man Mets stacks, 2 4-man Twins, 2 4-man Blue Jays, 3 4-man Indians, and a single 3-man Indians. So I'm concentrated in those top 4 teams.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good to me.
Not mad about it. Sure, they'll all
So
get
what's
blown up.
So I've never been on a show with you when you haven't been max entering something. So how does your strategy differ?
It doesn't.
Like, you just take your top 6?
I will probably take my top 6.
Right.
Not out of the realm of possibility that I manually swap someone out. Like, I've got Greg Allen in 4 of these at least, which I feel like that isn't necessarily something I have to do, but ownership will dictate it. But I'll just play with the dials a little bit, see what comes out. I just want to get highly projected lineups that aren't very different. The field size in that contest is like 5,000 people, so I don't need a bunch of like 1%ers and stuff. I'm going to treat it a little bit more cashy than it is. So I'm looking for a decent combination of high ownership and high fantasy points. Like, I ran, I think, 600 lineups. The top lineup I have here is ranked 8th in my ceiling, number 1 in fantasy points, and number 31 in aggregate ownership. But the uniqueness of that lineup is 1 in 350 million. Yeah. So I don't really have to care all that much about the construction of that lineup in a 5,000 person contest.
I wonder if I would, I don't know, maybe I wouldn't do this on purpose, but if I was hand building, I'd probably just build 6 different stacks on a slate like tonight. Just
thought about it.
1 Red Sox, 1 Mets, just take the top teams that are in the top stack tool of like the highest chance of being the top stack.
So right now, I mean, look, it's not the worst idea in the world. I've got Verlander in the top lineup, 19% owned. Got a 33% owned second baseman, 20% owned outfielder, 30% owned outfielder, 17% owned outfielder. That's, Cano and all these Mets guys. But at the same time, it's still a relatively unique lineup because I've got one specific spot, which in this case is Billy McKinney, that no one's really on. So
yeah, I don't think
it's really all I need.
Yeah, that is really all you need. I think when we talk about like ownership, there's total ownership. We've talked about this a ton of times, actually. There's total ownership, and then there's the chance of it actually being duped.
Yeah.
It's a whole nother thing. So you might have a chalky twin stack, but if you put in a guy who's even like 2 or 3% owned, you're just not going to, there's just no way you're going to get duped outside of you sharing your CSV with someone.
Exactly.
There's no way that lineup's going to get duped. So, whereas if you have a bunch of guys that are 12% owned, the sum of the ownership might look good, but that's not really a lineup I think is a profitable play. Like if you have a guy, like if your lowest owned guy in the lineup is, 9% or something like that, I'd be less likely to play that lineup rather than a chalky one with 1 or 2 low owned guys.
Same page. We're on the same page there. 628. Do you have anything else you want to touch on from pitching?
I don't think so. We talked about we brushed over Lopez. I don't really like Marco Gonzalez.
Nor should you.
I don't really understand his ownership right now. I'm half the field on him, so I'm pretty comfortable with that. I don't want to have none of someone that's getting that kind of ownership and is cheap on the slate. But yeah, that's really it. We touched on Perez, Keller, Lopez, Darvish, Anderson. Yeah, I think for me, it's just punt everything and see what happens.
Perfect. Then it's dong time. You ready for dong picks?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's where we stand. No one got one last night. Sano, Chapman, Cruz. We all bageled. Emac still in the lead with 31. Jake at 30. I've got 28. Spags needing these days at 24. Randone at 11. Pick rate. I am still the leader in the clubhouse. Jake leading Emac by 0.1%. Emac leading Chris by 0.1%.
Wow.
Randone coming in at the ass end of all of it. So, Jake, it is still you. Who would you like as your dong pick today?
Yeah, this is coming down to the wire here for everything. All right, my home run pick. God, they're probably just gonna walk him 4 times, but yeah, just give me Nelson Cruz. I'm gonna get one with him at some point.
Nelson Cruz going to Jake. And now I have to make a legitimate, difficult decision here. Because on the surface, I know who I want. I think that it's an easy call to... I just don't want to go there because I don't trust it today. I don't trust my own gut. Freddie Freeman is the guy that I'm looking at, and I think that that is a smart play. But I have a feeling, I have a better feeling about Francisco Lindor today than I do about Freddie Freeman.
Oh. So I'm going to be in a difficult spot if you take Lindor. He's my highest owned non-Coors bat. He's a great pick.
Give me Lindor.
Yep.
Give me Lindor.
Lindor is, yeah.
So Lindor is one of my double dongs this year. And he's single donged for me. He might be the guy that I've taken the most. I have 3 Francisco Lindor home runs this year. Let's make it 4. You're my boy, Lindor.
Lindor's such a stud.
I couldn't agree more. All right, so we're waiting for Emac is typing. Greg says always go with your gut. Cantor33 says go with the Canadian Freddie Freeman. So I don't know what to take out of this. Spags comes in with Freddie Freeman with the troll pick of me, the same way that I trolled him on our NFL show on Sunday. Mitch Garver in for Emac.
Mitch Garver?
Yeah.
Good pick. It's hard to make a bad pick tonight, honestly. So.
Agreed. Spags getting the Freddie Freeman dong is going to be really disgusting to me now.
Yeah. If you like triple dongs or something, and all of a sudden he's on your heels.
Oh my god, it would be gross. That is a doomsday scenario.
Yeah, that wouldn't be fun.
It won't happen. Lindor's going yard. I'm confident. My man, Francisco. You're my man. So, Francisco Lindor is your most exposed hitter, eh?
Most exposed non-Coors hitter. Sure. I'm having difficulty getting away from Cleveland bats. And they're just going to be, I guess if I'm playing Cleveland bats and not playing Verlander or Darvish, I'm going to be okay. I'm getting to them a lot as fillers, scrolling through my lineups here. I get to Cleveland. I only got to 1 Cleveland stack actually on, wow. I only got to 1 Cleveland stack out of my 30 on Fantasydraft. I just realized I didn't get to any Mets at all.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Would you play one lineup?
No Mets stacks. I just deleted like the top 10 or 15 in ownership. I just used the ownership from Draftkings. It's like total ownership.
Gotcha.
And it gave me a ton of Braves. Not it gave me.
You deleted the top owned teams?
Yeah. The top owned total lineups.
Why?
I don't know.
That's the place that you shouldn't do that.
Fantasydraft? Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right. I should probably recrunch this and just crunch out 30 again.
I assume that you can be way chalkier on Fantasydraft than you can elsewhere because there aren't publicly available ownership projections. So you using them is probably a benefit. It's probably better for you to be chalky than worse.
Yeah. You're right. You're right. Let me recrunch. I'm just going to crunch out 30. No, you make a good point. Because if you're like, there's just less entries in the tournaments too. So
yeah, I wouldn't.
That's probably the call.
Like if you're playing a 500,000 entry contest, I like lopping. So I already have it set up in my sheet to remove the top 1 percentile of total owned lineups. So like I don't delete them. They just don't get sorted for me when I'm playing a bigger contest. But on a day like today, here's the Big Brother Little Brother.
I was just reading that. Yeah, it is. It is.
You could also tell me to shut up, which I would not blame you one bit.
I respect your opinion. Why would I do that?
I don't know.
trying to learn here.
Hey, I'm spitballing. So yeah, I would guess that being chalkier on fantasy draft is not a bad idea.
Or at least not being intentionally away from the field.
Yeah. You're going to need those 1%ers a lot less.
Right. Because there might be one lineup out of 1,000 or, 3 lineups out of 1,000 that have the double dong, but on DraftKings there might be 200 and you're not live to win a tournament if that guy double dongs. So.
Ouch. My girl heard y'all talking yesterday and said, "That's cute. Are they brothers?" I said, "Nah, just a couple of idiots."
Not wrong.
No, not wrong at all. How much Mets do you have?
They are my high stone stack again. So apologies in advance for the cooler. If anybody was looking forward to playing the Mets, I have not had some good fortune coming my way in coolers lately, but the Mets are my high stone stack by a good margin. After that, I don't know. Do we need to talk about the Mets? I don't know.
I mean, they're exactly what we said they were this morning. I mean, it probably doesn't hurt to touch on it again for anybody that didn't see the strategy show this morning. But I mean, on FanDuel, they are a staggering value. I have a hard time getting to a different team, or at least not having a sizable chunk of Mets. They are slightly overowned actually on FanDuel, but at the same time, they have more than double the second place team in terms of odds of being a top stack. Mm-hmm. So just because you're relatively neutral to the ownership doesn't mean you should be avoiding this team. They're on a completely different level.
Yeah, they are. So get to whatever Mets you can.
Yeah.
If you got a single entry, I think it makes sense maybe to get off the Mets, at least as your primary stack. If you wanted to do like a 4-3 or 5-3 or 5-2 and have the 2 or 3 be Mets, I think that's fine. But in a single entry, when the ownership gets more concentrated, maybe think about going a different direction with your main stack or 3 max as well. But for MME, I'm just firing as many Mets as it'll allow me to. Once again, not as many as last night, but similar for the slate size.
Okay. Ownership just was updated. Let's grab that and we'll see where everything stands. Shout out to Tom or Eddie, whoever put that in.
That's crazy to me that Verlander is this highly owned.
Nelson Cruz is the chalk hitter on the slate now.
Now that's what the public should be doing right there.
Mitch Garver is the chalk on FanDuel.
I mean, what is he over there?
31. Not 9,000 like he is on DraftKings.
Yeah, that's outrageous.
Okay, so ownership is updated. I have dropped it into my sheet. My number one lineup is now unranked because it is chalky.
Really? So what was your number one lineup? Or like what stack was it?
Mets and something.
Mets stack?
Smoke, Cano, Vlad, Ahmed Rosario, McKinney, Gurriel, Nimmo, Wilson Ramos. So Mets Jays.
Yeah. I mean,
with
if you had
Verlander.
If you have the wrong pieces in there, I suppose. How many entries are in this tournament? This one you're playing tonight on FanDuel?
5,500 or something like that.
5,500. That's winnable with 6 entries. Like realistically winnable if you're smart, and obviously you can diversify with the best of them.
Yeah, 5,347. Now I'm sure I'm competing against 150 from Alex, so that'll be fun.
And Brick.
Yeah, and the rest of the sea of good peeps here.
It only takes one.
I'm surprised it's so small, honestly, with the way that they were running qualifiers. Like multiple every day that I was getting in. So I thought there would have been more out there. All right, now I'm not getting any Blue Jays.
Did they pop way up in the ownership projections there? They must have.
That would make me get them more, not less at this point. So I'm guessing they tumbled a bit.
Oh.
I was going to re-crunch, but I have no need to do that. I just need to figure out how I want to rank these lineups.
Oh, I just got this Islanders warm-up line. It's pretty gross.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So if anybody is waiting on that was like the one line I think a lot of people were asking about. It's ugly. So I'm gonna post this into Slack and probably try to make a couple changes.
Dude, I can't stop getting the Mets. No matter what I change my dials to, I've got a 4-man Mets stack in all 6 lineups.
And why would you want to stop getting to them?
I don't think I need them in. I don't think I need a representative of the Mets in all 6 of the lineups.
Why do people come in and try to advertise other stuff in here?
I don't know.
I suppose like we're not freaking what's his name who plays Fortnite? Ninja?
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna get that much exposure.
Yeah, that's an understatement.
Like no one's gonna look at your friend's SoundCloud or whatever. I just don't get that.
Your friend's SoundCloud.
That's what he was advertising.
That is so good.
Oh God.
I do everything that I'm doing is giving me 6 4-man Met stacks, no matter what I do.
Just play the Mets. That way you've got a bunch of competitive lineups. If they go off.
There we go. Now it's 5 Met stacks, 5 4-mans, and 1 3-man. Getting there, slowly but surely.
All right, let's put in. Oh man, global swap is the worst. There's got to be just a better way for every sport. Wallstrom for.
Ooh, now we've got it. 4 Mets, 4 4-mans of the Mets, 2 single one-off bats for the Twins. I've got 4 Indian stacks now, 2 Blue Jays, and a Braves.
Okay.
Getting closer there.
Yeah, so you're getting a little bit more diversified. Laffy D about to suit up for the Flyers.
So who else are you seeing in your stack? Are you getting to the Rockies? Because I know that they were not looking all that great at the bottom earlier.
I'm not getting to the Rockies very much. No one above 7% for me for Colorado on DK right now. I'm okay with that.
I wouldn't blame you.
Yeah. I mean, Stroman Adam made a good point. Like, it's Coors. He's going to allow you to put the ball in play and all of that. And they've got, obviously, a good total and, things you look for. But why not just take Boston at way less ownership? Why not take Atlanta against a chalky pitcher in Velasquez, even though I'm playing a bunch of Velasquez? I don't know. I don't feel the need to get to a lot of Colorado, and the data is supporting me in that endeavor.
I'm getting a lot of Indians now. Do you want to walk through that with me? 6.1 run implied total, I think, is what I've got. Zach Reininger is the guy starting for the Tigers.
Yeah, there was a bunch of different starters named.
I'm having a hard time being mad about that. They have the 4th highest odds of being the top stack. They are also, I believe, the top value. Second best value behind Minnesota. Oh, they have the 3rd highest odds of top stack. So I guess this just updated. I can dance with this, I think. Exposure to 5 teams: Mets, Twins, Blue Jays, Indians, Braves.
Mets, Blue Jays, Indians, Braves, and who else was that?
Twins. I only have 2 individual one-off bats for the Twins, though. They a one-off Scope and a one-off Polanco.
Okay. So you're essentially fading the Twins.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, that's not a bad call to make, especially if they have the chalkiest hitter and Garver. It's just so hard to compete with 6 lineups compared to 150.
It is tough, man.
Like, I always overthink it when I play, even like when I'm maxing, but it's like a qualifier or something for NHL. Just like feel like I always overthink it.
Got 4 lineups with Robinson Cano, 4 lineups with Todd Frazier. That feels wrong, but I mean, you got to play somebody, These guys are in a fantastic spot.
I've heard you do have to indeed play someone.
I think that's going to work for me. I'm going to run what I've got here. Who are the pitchers? Pitchers end up being... God, that's the first time I've refreshed that table today. Craziness. 2 Verlander, 2 Chris Paddock, 1 Eovaldi, 1 Mitch Keller.
Chris Paddock. That's not someone we really talked about, but I don't disagree with that. He's way cheaper on FanDuel,
right? Chris Paddock is 8,700 on FanDuel today.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Close. My spreadsheet's just died.
Did it really?
Yeah.
It's like you're not MMEing then.
It's like stuck-ish. Well, I put dummies in already.
Okay.
From before, so I'm good there. I just have to close these and then open them again.
Still annoying.
Yeah, I don't want to have to deal with it. So tell me what you're seeing. Anything interesting coming out that you didn't expect to see?
I do really like. I didn't think I would get to a lot of Boston. I did get to a bunch of them though.
Red Sox, eh?
Yeah. So I feel like we didn't talk about this game all that much. We were just kind of like, yeah,
I didn't like
it. You didn't like him?
No, not really.
Well, I think I pointed out this morning, like they had a couple guys that are priced up. Benintendi getting the bump up to lead off, of course, helps. You afford them. I would have liked if Betts was in. I think he was 5,700, but still, they're not getting as much ownership as I thought they would be, especially with no bets. You've got 2 really, really good values in Holt and Benintendi against a pitcher I don't think you're that worried about. And it's in Fenway. So I don't know. I guess there's just you can't play everyone. And so they're just getting a little bit they're not getting in the mix with some of these other teams that are slightly more affordable.
They rank 12th for me.
Wow. So you're with the field here. You agree with not having a ton of Boston.
I guess. I would not have a ton of Boston if that's the question.
I'm getting a lot of Boston lineups in like my top 20, 25 lineups too. So like I'm probably going to have some Boston I'm going to have a ton of Mets, but like in the $4 four-seamer, I think it's called the four-seamer today. On DK, I'm going to get a lot of Bogarts and Devers and JD and all those guys as my 2-mans with Met stacks.
So I'm making some tweaks here, and like I can get rid of Verlander and get a lot of Mitch Keller, and it dramatically changes the scope of my lineups. And then I can make another tweak and get back to Verlander. Totally changed the scope of my lineups. It just kind of looks all crazy to me when I'm doing this.
Oh man, I'm trying to get less Cleveland bats right now because it's just like Cleveland Mets for like my top 10 lineups, and I don't want that.
I'm trying to get less Greg Allen.
Less Greg Allen.
I keep getting too much Greg Allen, I guess. It's probably the way to say that.
Is there ever too much Greg Allen?
But when I make my adjustments, I lose Verlander.
Yeah. I mean, I always side with the hitter. So
I don't know if I want to side with Greg Allen over Justin Verlander, though, you know?
Well, you can't think about it like that, because then you're always going to choose. That's what everybody thinks about. You know, you're not everybody. You're Josh Engelman.
That's true. It'd be better if I was everybody, though. I think I am everybody in my simulation. Nick Ahmed scratched.
That doesn't matter.
No.
For me, at least. Might matter to the people, so I don't want to offend anyone.
Yeah, it shouldn't matter to anyone. Although the Diamondbacks are chalky. They are the 3rd most owned team on FanDuel. So I have them ranked. Really? I have them ranked 15th.
Are they just dirt cheap?
They're pretty cheap, yeah.
Man, but they're not good hitters at the bottom of this lineup. I guess Carson Kelly's decent for a catcher, but you don't need to play a catcher on FanDuel if you don't want to.
Let's see if that works. Does that get me Verlander still? Nope. No, it does not.
Wow.
I can't play 6 lineups without having at least one Verlander. You know, that's okay. That gives me one Verlander.
I think you have to play one.
Yeah, I agree. He's too good, you know?
Yeah, he's a great play. So people probably come on here if they haven't watched us and they're like, wow, these guys are fading Verlander. What idiots.
Yeah.
No, that's not what we're trying to do, but there's just more variance in bats, and there's a ton of bats tonight, and Verlander's great, and he's probably going to score 30, but on GK or whatever that is on FanDuel, 50, 55, 60, somewhere in there. But you're still you still got a long way to go in winning a tournament if you're heavy on Verlander.
Dope Heathen says, let's hope Kate Upton got Verlander riled up today.
Oh my God.
All right, I am putting my lineups in as of right now. I'm not going to go back to it. This is it for me.
I just put in my DraftKings lineups just now. I will refresh if anything comes out for ownership.
Give us those final pitcher exposures.
Okay. Pitchers, Martin Perez at 42.7, Velasquez 40, Keller 34, Jorge Lopez 34, Brad Anderson 16.7, Marco at 8, Eovaldi at 8, and then Smith, Darvish, Corbin, Gray, Gio all under 5. And then I don't have anyone else.
Okay. That'll work.
Anything sound like, am I omitting anyone that I shouldn't be?
No, I don't think so.
I mean, Verlander, obviously. Got 0 Verlander.
Right. I mean, I don't think you're in the wrong for that. You're clearly missing him, but I don't think that that's anything you're doing incorrectly.
Yeah, I am going to miss Verlander tonight. I just need someone for this Texas team. Don't be terrible for once. Like, even if he strikes out 12, like, hit a solo shot or someone hit a 3-run dong. That's all I'm asking for. Just don't let Verlander throw a no-hitter again.
Yeah, if he throws another no, that one's going to sting.
Yeah, that's not going to feel good.
You're probably going to need him. If he throws a no-hitter, you'd probably need him.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. He threw 60. Yeah, he had 60 points.
That's nuts, dude. That is absolutely nuts. Yeah. That is just a really, really crazy game.
He's insane. I would love to have 100% Verlander every slate he plays, but not when he's 13.
People have prices.
Yeah. People want to hammer the Marlins and play, I don't even know, KC bats. Who else is getting chalky? Like, Cincinnati's getting some ownership. I don't agree with that at all. Like, I would love to play the White Sox if they're cheap, like we talked about this morning, but
yeah,
the guys that are actually good are not that cheap. So there's just no one that I feel is very appealing to play with Verlander besides the Twins, and you punt your SP2, but then you're playing against everyone else that does that, which is 34% of the field.
So here's where I officially ended up. 4 4-man Mets stacks, 3 4-man Blue Jays, 3 4-man Indians, 1 3-man Indians, a 3-man Braves, and 2 individual one-off Twins that go with those 3-man Indian and Brave stacks.
Okay.
So my primary stacks, Mets, Indians, and Blue Jays. 2 lineups with Verlander, 2 with Chris Paddock, 1 with Eovaldi, 1 with Mitch Keller.
You got a good spread.
Yeah. I'm a little nervous about the Eovaldi lineup, but I don't really know what I would do otherwise.
Right. What else?
I would drop down. I mean, if I were doing anything, I would drop down from Eovaldi to Keller and upgrade.
Ooh, I like me some Keller.
Let's see, let me look at the Eovaldi lineup. I already have $600 remaining in that lineup. So if I pull Eovaldi and switch to Keller, we can walk through this on the stream, and then I'm going to win $50K with it. And then I add in Keller. I have $1,400 to upgrade this lineup. I'm going to read off the hitters. You tell me the first place you would go. And spoiler alert, I already know the answer. Pete Alonso, Robinson Cano, Todd Frazier, Michael Conforto. That's the 4-man Mets stack. I think we're safe there.
Okay.
4-man Indians. Francisco Lindor, Yasiel Puig, Oscar Mercado, Greg Allen. I'm going to move Conforto to that outfield spot for Greg Allen, and then I'm going to have $3,700 to spend on any hitter in the league.
37.
Yeah.
All right. Let me do a quick scroll.
I'm going to put Conforto in that outfield spot. I've got $3,700 utility. I can have anybody. I mean, I could, in theory, just grab... All right, Puig's already in that lineup. Lindor and Mercado are in it. I can't get to Santana without moving stuff around. So I'll probably just go 3-man Indians here. When Greg Allen goes yard, I'm going to punch myself in the face.
Yeah, that's going to be a pretty brutal one. 37. Could you play Matty Chapman?
I mean, I could.
Who did you put in there?
I haven't put in anybody. I have the utility spot open. I can fill it with anybody $3,700 or less on FanDuel. It's in the utility.
Wow.
So my highest projected... this is fantastic. This feels like a no-brainer for two separate reasons. Reason number one, I have 0 of this guy right now.
Okay.
2, he is my highest projected guy. He's my third highest projected guy on the slate. And
Devers.
He is exactly $3,700.
Oh.
Nelson Cruz.
Oh, yeah, of course.
No brainer, right?
Yeah, of course, Cruz. That's not even close.
So yeah, instead of going Eovaldi, Greg Bird, I'm going Mitch Keller, Nelson Cruz.
Well, there you have it.
That is what I would like to call an upgrade. Dude, my top lineup has $1,700 left over.
Do you ever check that?
Not when I'm running 150.
Neither do I. I always wonder if I should have lineup constraints, but
I don't even know what I would change here.
Yeah.
Keller, Santana, Cano, Frazier, Lindor, Allen, Mercado, Nimmo, Conforto. I mean, it's essentially the same lineup as before, but I feel like I need to cut somebody out and upgrade again.
If it works, it works. Like if that's your best lineup and you believe in your ranking system, then why not?
Yeah, I agree. I don't need to make any changes, but is there anybody on the Mets that would be like a naturally, or on the Indians that would be a naturally better move? Or to drop to a 4-3. What's with Keller? Dude is horrible. I don't know what to tell you there.
I mean, well, he's not horrible, but
Yeah.
He's a good play today. He projects favorably for Alex, number 1 DFS player in the world, if you've heard of him. Osimo is his name. He's got a 4 implied total against. He's $5,800 on FanDuel. So that's kind of crazy. He is 28 on Yahoo. Let's see. He's 16-2 fantasy draft, 8-1 Draftkings. He's affordable on every site. Like, why would you not want to play him?
Seriously, someone say something like Keller getting talked up. I'm just curious. I know Seattle sucks, but Keller sucks even more. First of all, I have no idea why you would say that Keller sucks.
Yeah, why does Keller suck?
Clearly looking at information that isn't actually relevant. But I'll entertain this. 27.8% strikeout rate against lefties this season, 28 against righties. He's allowed a 291 xWOBA to righties and a 333 xWOBA to lefties. He's got a 13.7% swinging strike rate to righties, a perfectly reasonable 12% going to lefties. I think someone needs to learn how to look at advanced statistics. Yeah,
I mean, just to say he's bad.
He's a 28% strikeout guy, and he's priced at $5,800 on FanDuel today.
There's no reason he should be priced that low on FanDuel. I would argue he's underpriced on DK and way underpriced. I mean, he's just, I don't know. He's just not bad.
Let's not forget that he's also the number 46 prospect in baseball.
Yeah, he's been solid from a DFS perspective. I don't know what his record is. I don't really care what his record is, but to say he's bad is quite the stretch.
He's a 23-year-old top prospect, striking out 28% of batters in the major leagues in his rookie season. And we're just like, oh, that guy stinks.
Yeah.
His BABIP is 477. It should be 300.
477?
477.
What's his hard contact rate?
38.5. He's got a 378 Sierra, a 355 xFIP, and a 829 ERA.
Look at his game logs. He does suck. I mean, okay.
Striking out 12 batters per 9 innings, walking 2.8.
I'm just when he goes off tonight for 30, we'll remember this. I don't even remember who said that, but just remember this conversation that Mitch Keller sucks.
Yeah, this is a no-brainer. No-brainer. 5 minutes to go before lock, everybody. If you don't have your lineups in, what in the world are you waiting for? I kind of want to swap out a Conforto here and move somebody around, but I don't know who to go
You're
to.
messing with it. You're messing with it now.
Well, 1,700 feels like it's too much. But I don't know who I would switch to, you know?
What would you do? Just upgrade you?
Honestly, and this isn't even an upgrade. I would actually free up more money. I would swap out Carlos Santana to go to Freddie Freeman, I believe. Or potentially Robinson Cano to go to someone? If I took Cano out of that lineup. Marte? Altuve?
I was going to say maybe an Astro. No one's playing them.
Altuve one-off?
You're just paying up just to pay up. You're not paying up to get a better projected player.
Yeah, you're right. I shouldn't tinker.
No reason to tinker.
Yeah.
You say you treat it the exact same as
That's true.
As a regular slate, as a multi-entry slate. So why not do that here?
Ooh, we did just get Mitch Keller's fantasy points in his last 3 starts, so we should definitely pay attention to that.
Well, now we got to eat it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. That's a good point. He did have those 3 starts. If you're not seeing it, did you close your eyes or have you never seen before?
Is that a question?
Hey, said good luck. I'm still not seeing it. I don't know what else I could say then.
I just don't know.
Did none of those incredible stats for a 23-year-old in nothing? 12 Ks per 9? Nothing? That's not a thing? We're going to treat that like it's not real? Every single stat, every single sign for Mitch Keller points in the direction of him being a very interesting play across the slate. And even better on FanDuel and Yahoo. Craziness.
Play Mitch Keller.
Yeah.
If he gets blown up in 5 minutes, then you guys won't remember this, right? I'm playing 30.
If he gets blown up and I could start the slate over again, I'd still play him.
Yeah, that's the thing too. He just makes a lot of sense on the slate.
Yeah. I have Mitch Keller projected for more points than Lance Lynn, than who else at the top? I have the same as Dallas Keuchel. Only Dallas Keuchel is $8,900.
Will Myers scratched.
Doesn't matter.
If anybody's playing some Will Myers, I don't think I am.
2 minutes to go. Slowly but surely waiting for the FIFA web app to come out tonight. It's going to be a good day for me.
Just got a ownership update. Let's see. Anything wild happening? Verlander was at 34. Now he's at 32. Cruz up to 24. Nelly Cruz keeps rising. I'm going to put this ownership update in and see if it changes anything. Nope. Still a ton of Mets.
There we go.
A ton of Martin Perez. It's going to be a fun slate.
It is going to be a fun slate. I'm excited to see how it all shakes out. I hope I get one that is in sniffing distance. That'd be fun. Go Mets. Go Blue Jays. Go Cleveland Indians. Go Blue Jays and Indians in particular. That would be the best part for me. But obviously, go Mets as well. And most importantly, go Francisco Lindor, who is in 3 of my 6.
I hope so. I hope he dongs for you. Then we'll just need a double dong out of my guy, Nelly Cruz. But
I'll tell you this much. If he dongs and things go well, I don't mind if you get a double. Matt Seisland, did I play any UCL today? No, I did not. I did put the projections out, though. There was a ton of overlay that I did not take advantage of. There we go. We are locked.
You don't like overlay?
Champions League was not available on Fantasy Cruncher.
Ooh.
So
that's no fun.
Stripling did not just get scratched. That was 2 hours ago.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
So anyway, thank you guys for joining us. Please hit the like button. Shout out to Fantasy Draft. Use the promo code AWESEMO when signing up to get $1,000 in rake-free entries. Live Before Lock is the promo code. Get yourself 50% off your first month of Awesemo Plus. Myself and Adam will be with you tomorrow, I believe.
Correct. Yeah.
We'll have Deeper Dive. We'll have NFL Strategy Show at 11, Deeper Dive, Live Before Lock, and then PGA Live Before Lock, Sanderson Farms Championship, Ben Ross and Jason Roslin, 9 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. Check it out. Jake, anything else?
No, just good luck and go Mets.
Here we go, guys. We'll talk to you later. Good luck.